No, I know that. Jalen Hurts. I mean, not Jalen. It's Justin Fields.
Let's see.
I
He
know.
took a wicked hit.
Oh, that was brutal. I don't even know how he played the rest of the game. Actually, the game was. They after that play, they went crazy.
Andy, can you get everyone from out there?
Come on, let's get him going.
You like it like that.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'd like to wish everybody a very happy new year. And my wish is for a peaceful year at that for all of us. With that, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. It's always nice when we can begin a meeting with something special. And so today we will begin with the resolution for the approval of the appointments to tenure for Rachel Brine, Gregory Hamilton, and Emily Klinowski. May I have a motion, please? Ms. Levitan, seconded by Mr. Gershon. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Well, congratulations to Ms. Brine and Mr. Hamilton and Emily Klinowski. Please stand up so everyone can see you. Tenure is something that this district and this board have never taken lightly. We really believe in the extraordinary work that we do here, and we really believe in the people that we choose to invite into our family. And the three of you are no exception to that. Your work has been exceptional, and that's why you're here tonight. And so I'm so happy on behalf of the board to share many more years to come with you all. So congratulations.
Well, my failure to use the microphone properly was very anticlimactic, but I was going to add my thanks and appreciation to Tracy's and also commend you for the terrific work that you've done. Rachel, unfortunately, I don't work with as closely, but Emily and Greg I get to see on almost a daily basis, and I can say that their tenure is well earned, and Mr. Casper has equally positive things to say about Ms. Brine. We're so proud of all of you. We're so proud that you decided to make Syosset your home, and we're so proud that this is now your permanent home. So congratulations, welcome, keep up the great work.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rogers. Next, I would like to introduce our own Christopher Ulrich, who would like to speak about a milestone. Chris?
All right, thank you. I want to thank everybody on the board and the community. Some may have heard the rumors, but we are relocating the family to Florida. We're expanding the business, opening down there, and probably in February, we'll be heading down there. So at that point, I'll be leaving the board a few months early. That said, I really appreciate the trust that the community has put in me over the years, the great work that we've been able to do, Dr. Rogers and the entire board for what they do for the community. It's been great to be on the inside, really learn how things work, hopefully make some positive contributions, and wish everybody in the community the best. Thank you.
And with that news, it is my honor to introduce legislator Josh Lafazan.
Good evening to the school board and Dr. Rogers and audience. My name is Josh Lafazan. I do have the privilege of serving as Nassau County legislator for the 18th district, but I'm here tonight as a friend and admirer of Chris Ulrich. And leaving the board in 2017 was bittersweet. Obviously, it was sad because this is an incredible school board with so many devoted parents trying to make the district a better place. But what made it sweet was I was hoping, and I knew that you would fill the seat that I left. And you filled it admirably. You're somebody who asks intelligent questions. You're somebody who gets along with people on both sides of the spectrum, and you're able to build consensus. This is a really difficult time in American politics, and I think what's missing is people like you who are able to build consensus around ideas. And as school board, you have one main job, to take care of our kids. And you've done that for your own kids, and you've done that on behalf of so many kids. So it's my honor to present our proclamation of citation to you. We're going to miss you in Florida. If you run for the school board in Florida, you count on your first supporter. And just congratulations on an incredible school board career. We're so proud of you. We hate to see you go, but we thank you so much for what you've done. And I'll ask if Dina can take a socially distanced photo of us. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
It's not over yet, Mr. Ulrich. The Board of Education wanted to give you a plaque for you to remember us by and to commemorate your service to our entire community and to this board. So this plaque reads, School Board Service Award presented to Christopher Ulrich in recognition of dedicated service, devotion, and contributions to the Syosset School District. And at the end it says Syosset Board of Education Trustee 2018 and to 2021. And I have to say, you served in a time where we've been through some historic, pivotal moments in history. And as one would expect, those moments in history also affect local communities. And so to serve at this time is a wonderful thing. It's a difficult thing. And I know that I speak for everyone when I say that your contributions and your service are greatly appreciated. So let me give this to you. Chris DeFilippo.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy. Tonight, as Syosset Schools honors our Board of Trustee Christopher Ulrich in recognition of his dedicated, devoted service. You know, knowing Chris, I sensed Chris had a calling to run for trustee. You could just tell it by his actions over the last 3 years. I think we actually even ran in the same election together, and that was a good experience as well. Chris has done his job up and beyond, I feel, as a regular trustee compared to other school districts, but then again, Syosset is another school district. We always set the bar a lot higher. He learned quickly and often advocated strongly for the betterment of this school district. Chris will be missed, and his shoes will be hard to fill. Just a note on the job of trustee. It's a big decision, and one which involves family sacrifices. Being a trustee is not a one meeting a month commitment. It's ongoing every day. We as trustees all do our best to keep on task with issues which impact students, parents, and staff. School board trustees are elected volunteers who donate their time as public servants. As elected officials and volunteers, school board trustees donate hours of their time to serve students, and school board members are committed advocates for public education, continuously supporting our students and schools. Trustees do not seek personal gain or favors for our children. If they do, then this is not the place, nor a volunteer position for them. Chris, I wish you the best of luck in your new endeavor, and much happiness and health to your family.
Okay, thank you. Carol?
All right. Chris, we're going to miss you. Thank you so much for your service, and it was great working with you. And I know you before you started running, and I know Dina, who's sitting in the audience with the little one. We just can't believe that this is how you end your school board career here. But thank you for your service. You definitely put in a lot of hard work, a lot of hours, a lot of effort, and the Syosset community and the board is very lucky to have you for 3 years. Best of luck in Florida. Thank you.
Tom?
Chris, thank you so much for your service. And Dina, thank you for your service. I met Chris and Dina at Village, and they were always smiling, they were always welcoming, they were always involved, they were always busy. And it's just great to have them around. Chris, just what I say about you. You have a unique skill set. You're a happy person. You're passionate. You're a lawyer. You're a technologist. You're an entrepreneur. You're a great parent. Chris understands the big picture. He quickly boils it down and makes it easy for everybody to understand. He takes complex issues and makes them real easy. He's caring. He's passionate. But not only is he caring and passionate, he takes action. Just at this year's graduation, Chris and Dina were not going to let the graduation go as was. They threw themselves in there. They made the graduation memorable for everybody, and I want to thank you. It's not just Chris, but Dina is always there pushing. I appreciate Chris's skill set that he brings to the board, and it's definitely going to be a big loss to have somebody who has this diverse skill set. I learned a lot from serving with you, and I'm really proud to do that. I always smile, even just looking at you. I want to wish you and your family the best of luck in your future endeavors, the best of health. You're sorely going to be missed, but I'm sure you're going to bring smiles and happiness to people in Florida just like you did here. God bless you.
Andy?
Am I on? Okay. Well, my first question is, who's going to help me with technology? Because Chris was easily the most technologically proficient board trustee, right? That's pretty much consensus. But anyway, Chris, and also, by the way, I'm glad you came back after we went to that lunch when you first got elected to the board and you showed up, so that's good. It's been a pleasure working with you. You've done a great job, been an asset to the board and our community with your calm, introspective, and intelligent approach to tackling several serious issues. So I just wish you and your family the best of luck in this next chapter of your lives in Florida. And thanks again.
Here we go. Hello. Where do I begin? First of all, I am so happy for you guys to see Izzy's eyes light up over the mask is a confirmation that you made the right decision, and I'm very excited for you, and all the best. And here's to family reuniting with your other two that are down there in school. Not to be repetitive, but obviously the skill set is there, and but more importantly, the passion, the commitment, the standing up for what's right is what differentiates Chris, in my opinion, as a board trustee. And it takes a selfless person to serve in the board, and it's hard to fill your shoes for sure on this board, and I just want to thank you for the 3 roller coaster years. I agree with Tracy, but you made a big difference, and thank you again. And this community will remember you, and will miss you. But again, Izzy, have fun, send pictures. Thanks again.
Chris, I really appreciate all the work you've done on this board the last 3 years. Your input and ideas have just been tremendous. You've worked so hard for the community, and I really appreciate what you did. I am very jealous that you're moving to Florida. I want to go there. Maybe I'll be there in 5 or 10 years. I appreciate the help you've helped me with professionally. Also, you and Dina, with my practice, you've really helped out a lot, and I hope we can continue working together. And I wish you the best of luck.
Susan?
I just wanted to echo everybody's statements. We're so appreciative. Anybody who's seen you at a meeting knows how much time and effort and dedication that you have put into it, and we all really, really appreciate it. I'm also super jealous that you're going to be in Florida enjoying the sunshine, but we wish you the best of luck, and they're lucky to have you. So good luck with everything, and thank you for all of your hard work and effort.
Okay, so last but not least, Chris, again, I think you've heard it from all of us that you've been a great asset, and we just hope that you enjoy and bring yourself to everything that you do in Florida, and I'm sure you'll have new friends in an instant. So lots of luck to you. You're welcome. Okay, approval of the minutes of December 4th. Okay. Approval of the minutes of December 14th, 2020. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Gershon, seconded by Susan Falco. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Approval of the minutes of December 29, 2020. May I have a motion, please? Mr. DeFilippo, seconded by Ms. Chang. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Dr. Rufo, can we please have the treasurer's report?
As shown in the treasurer's report, the cash on hand for the month ending November 30th, 2020 was $93,840,889.57. It shows that bank balances for all cash accounts were reconciled to the book balances and were collateralized in accordance with the district's banking agreements and policy.
Thank you. May I have a motion to accept the treasurer's report? Mr. Rotolo, seconded by Ms. Falco. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, before we get to the superintendent's report, I just wanted to make mention for those of you who are wondering what happens in the event of a vacancy. The Board of Education has 4 options. They can hold a special election, and for this year, the earliest possible date would be in March, and that person would serve until June 30th. The second option would be to appoint a board member. That would require 5 votes, and the person would serve only until May 18th. The BOCES superintendent fills the vacancy after 30 days. This is in practice, but that option has never been used. And the fourth option is to leave the seat vacant. The seat would be filled after May 18th by the highest vote getting non-incumbent, who would then serve 3 years plus 6 weeks. So that is a discussion that the board will hold in February. Okay, Dr. Rogers, the superintendent's report.
Thank you, and I'll just echo a couple of words of appreciation to Mr. Ulrich as well. I know I shouldn't compliment my boss, but you won't be my boss too much longer, so maybe this would still be appropriate. As someone who is in a position that I'm often called on to try and be a problem solver, it's always nice to have a thought partner, and what I've found is that you are an incredibly creative, outside-of-the-box thought partner, and so many of our ideas here have gotten better because you've had ideas that have improved them. And I'll miss having that thought partner in the work that we do here. You have served at a very uncertain time in the world and in public education, and we've navigated those waters skillfully in no small part because of the contributions that you've made. So I'm also very appreciative of your contributions. I wish you all the best in Florida. I'm not at all tempted by the warm weather, but if those photographs go into my house somewhere, I may be in trouble. So you can share them with me, but only with me. And I do wish you and Dina and Izzy all the and the others who have preceded you all the very best. I hope you enjoy the success that your business is experiencing and that your family will experience in Florida. So congratulations. With that said, creative problem solving is something that we're often called on to do in the world of our young people, because all young people proceed through their lives at different paces and in different ways. And we as a school district go out of our way to make sure that we try to accommodate the needs of every youngster, no matter how disparate those needs may be. We've been through a process of evolution in how we do that, and our most recent iteration, we think our most sophisticated approach, is to think about this as a system of supports that goes through a series of tiers, and each one of those tiers is more robust than the next. So we call this our multi-tiered system of support. And it is something that involves not just the folks who work in the special education environment, but really everyone in the school district, as we all try to find ways that we can support the various needs of our students and help them progress in the best way that they possibly can. Ordinarily, in January, we have a presentation from students that has to do with athletics. Obviously, all of the sports got pushed into the spring, so we don't have that this evening. But what I do have for the board is an update. We talked as a board about 2 years ago on our conversion to MTSS from its predecessor, AIS. And tonight is an opportunity to update you on where we're at. And I just want to tie this to some of the work that you've done as a board, where you've invested additional resources in the school district in the form of people who work with students, whether those are psychologists or social workers. And we have for you this evening, the folks have really put all that work into motion and found ways to make sure that our supports for students are as robust as they can possibly be. So with that, I'll introduce Dr. Lamelza, our Assistant Superintendent for Pupil Personnel Services, and he'll introduce the team as they go through the presentation.
Okay, good evening. This is on, right? Good evening. It's my pleasure to introduce the panel that's going to be discussing this evening, as well as sharing some of the information as well. So as Dr. Rogers said, it is our MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support, and we're also going to talk a little bit about our movement towards a culture of care. So tonight, unfortunately, Mary Lou Sapienza was unable to attend, but we do have Carolyn Candela, who is a social worker who's working at the elementary, and Dr. Jen Eastman, who is a psychologist who's working at the high school and at HBT. So I just want to spend a little time giving you some of the background, some of the history. I'll be the institutional memory, if you will, because this work really started before your tenure here as trustees, and I want to kind of give that perspective of the foundation that was built, because really this structure has been built over the past, I would say, 11 years, really. And it really started with the RTI, which was response to intervention, if you recall that. And we started really focused on early primary grades. It was the elementary special education teachers. It was the elementary DL teachers, our reading teachers. And they worked really carefully off of, at that time, it was the National Reading Council and the information that they gave us about what were the key components of reading. So working really tirelessly for that first year, 2 years with consultants, they went through the research, they put interventions together, we had binders, lots of work. K1, 2, and then as the years progressed, we added the math component to it. And then we added the additional grades as we went up through the elementary school, and then worked our way really up through the high school now. So during that process, the model started to sort of, I would say, become more sophisticated, more comprehensive, and that's really what got us into the MTSS piece, which we'll talk about as we're going forward. But I do want to then share with you this notion of a culture of care, because we're really going to talk about that as we go forward, because we think that's probably the best model that indicates the interrelationship of all of these components that we're going to be talking about. So really the goal of all of this was, in keeping with the goal that you as trustees have set, was really to do the alignment, to align our K through 12 curriculum and continuum of services. So that's really the focus of all of this. These are the pillars that we talk about, and this is, again, what Carolyn and Jen will be talking about in terms of how we've kind of putting it all together and making sure that it really is complementary and integrated. So you'll see it's the academics, which is obviously those students that we believe require additional support with progress monitoring, with specific interventions, targeted approaches. We've also talked about the mental health, and I'll talk a little bit about one of the partnerships we've just formed in a minute, but our mental health department, our mental health approaches, our mental health strategies have really developed over the last several years, and that has been, as Dr. Roger mentioned, really a benefit of having the additional social workers and the staff that we contributed to that. So given the situations that we find ourselves in now, we really have been very focused on that, and we certainly have looked to make sure that we are offering support for our families and for our staff, and again, we'll talk more about that. Restorative practices, I think, is a topic that you're aware of, because that really was really kind of the bedrock, again, the structure of the Code of Conduct, or what we're calling now the Code of Character Development and Supports. That's that notion of community, safe place, circles, a sense of restoring a wrong, fixing it in an appropriate way, making it be a learning opportunity. So restorative practices are also very important to the structure. Social emotional learning, SEL, that is, again, another important part. We've done a lot of work there with curriculum. We're talking about the advisor-advisee program. Again, that notion of giving the students an understanding of themselves, of wellness, of how they're able to manage and self-regulate, as well as motivate themselves and others. And then all of that, again, is tied into the positive behavioral supports. And again, we'll be talking more about that. But that's really just creating this culture, this belief that we all can succeed, we all have to work together, we all rely upon one another. And that's really the community aspect of all of this. So you'll hear more about that as well. Nope. There we go. Hit the wrong button. I did want to mention about the partnership that we did establish with Central Nassau Guidance, and that has been a big support with our mental health abilities and the abilities to address mental health issues. So they also helped us this year. There were several presentations that we did in partnership with the PTA Council. They started off in the beginning of the year. And they're a local mental health community agency, Plainview and Hicksville. They really offer, as you can see down the list, I won't read it all to you, but there's a lot of services. And they are so responsive and so helpful in being able to get our students and families the support that they need in a timely manner, to be able to expedite it and really be able to support the whole mental health component throughout the district. So that has been a real plus for us this year, and I didn't want to miss that, and make sure that you're aware of that, because that's been a big plus. So this is the logo that we're finding as being, I think, the best representation of how this all plays together. It's that multi-tiered system of support, culture of care, and what you'll see is what they've done is just taken each of those pillars, and as opposed to having them stand, individually and separately, we really put them together in an interlocking sort of way. And it's about people. It's about kids. It's about the staff. It's about all of us working together and addressing the needs of each of us. Okay? I also want to call your attention to, I mentioned earlier, in the past when we started this, binders. We had binders on top of binders on top of binders. We really have moved ahead with the technology. I hope this works. Let's see. Where's my mouse? There it is. These are supports that are accessible through our website. If you haven't had a chance to look at this is the parent support site on the website. This has been very well received. This has been fed, if you will, by our behavioralists, by our teachers, by our counselors, by our social workers, and it really has been a very helpful clearinghouse for the mental health and just helping parents being able to navigate and deal with the issues that they're up against. Here's the Code of Character and Conduct and Support, which is also available online at our website. And then this is a website that really has developed, again, over the course of the 11 years, and again, so many people have contributed to this. This is our resource website. If you look across the top here, you'll be able to see each of the areas. Those that I mentioned, as well as the academic areas. And if we go across, we have intervention sites and supports. A lot of work from assistive technology was put in place. We have our speech and language. We have our occupational therapy. So a teacher can come in here, click on any of these areas, get a lot of good ideas, get a lot of explanation and definitions, and just be able to sort of facilitate the whole process. So this has really been such a great help. And as I said, it really gives us everything at our fingertips. So that whole notion of using technology to support the learning and the model is here. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over now to Jen.
Good evening. We'd like to walk you through some of the work that's being done across the district in all of the 5 areas of our culture of care. Starting with academics, as a district, we adopted the NWEA Measures of Academic Progress Assessment to provide standardized assessment of student skills. But what's great about the assessment is that it not only provides a snapshot of the student's skills in time compared to grade level expectations, but it also is a measure of growth over time when we administer the assessment multiple times in a school year or over the course of several school years. So as a whole, our goal is to use this data to have data-based conversations when we discuss student weaknesses. It provides us the ability to use this assessment alongside teacher reports and other academic data to really hone in on what the student weaknesses are so that we can prescribe interventions to meet these needs in the best way possible. And so our goal moving forward in this area is really to not just be using student data, but we want to be thinking about building data and district data so that we can really build a system that can target all of our students' unique needs every day. The other area that we've been working on in academics is building our toolbox for teachers to have evidence-based tools at their fingertips when they're working with students. And so intervention programs such as leveled literacy intervention, Achieve 3000, Number Worlds, these are all tools that are evidence-based, meaning that their success is supported by research. And we want our teachers to have these tools when they're working with students to, again, meet their needs in the most effective way. Again, going forward, we want to expand those toolboxes for our teachers, giving them a lot of different options when they're working with students. Okay. Similarly, we want to build a structure and a system that can meet all of our students' needs in the areas of mental health as well. This year in particular, we have been faced with unprecedented challenges, and so we as a system needed to respond coming into the school year with tools that we could use to meet these unprecedented needs. We, over the summer, in preparation for reopening, we spent time connecting with the Nassau BOCES Mental Health Consortium, which is a place where districts come together to not only share ideas, but also receive trainings and resources so that we can do our job most effectively in terms of current trends and things that are happening in our world. Using that information, we aimed to increase the depth of our system and the breadth of our system so that we can reach as many students as possible this year. We expanded our counseling groups, which really across the district, we offer group counseling to target a variety of needs. And this year, our goal was to increase that so that we could, again, meet all of our students' needs in the best way possible. Some of the groups here, this is not an exhaustive list, but just to give you a sense of some of the groups that are offered, again, across the district. Some of the groups are skill-based, meaning that the students receive direct instruction through structured activities to build skills in whatever area they may be lacking. Some of our groups are more support groups. So when we're talking about things like divorce or bereavement, we want to just provide our students an opportunity to discuss how they're feeling and process their emotions in a safe and non-judgmental space. And so those groups provide students that opportunity. Regardless of the skills, the specific skills that are being targeted in those groups, really what we're hearing from student voices is that they appreciate the connections that they're building in those groups. And so those groups are really pulling together groups of students that are struggling with similar issues. And for our students, finding others that are struggling in the same way you are and supporting each other as you process how you're feeling and move forward, that is really the value in our group counseling. And so when you speak to students and you get feedback from them, that's really what they see as the most valuable process in group counseling. We also, in the area of social emotional learning, have taken great strides to expand our ability to meet all of our students' needs. The last couple years, we've been working on something called the advisory program. It's at the secondary level. It is currently running in our middle schools. Really what advisory is a dedicated time of the day where students are brought together in small group cohorts, and they work on building social and emotional skills. Sometimes the activities are structured. Other times it's just an opportunity for students to build connections with their peers. The groups are designed under normal circumstances, this year being a little different, but under normal circumstances they're designed to connect students that may not necessarily have opportunities to connect otherwise. And so some of the groups might be across grades or just pulling students from different classes or sections to give them the opportunity to connect with students in a meaningful way. As I said, right now it's running at our middle school level, 6th through 8th grade. They are attending daily, but the high school spent considerable time this summer putting together a curriculum for our advisory program, and the program is set for rollout in the spring. What's great about this program is that it's built on the foundation of social emotional learning standards, so national and state standards, but also the New York State cultural framework. What we thought was most important in designing the advisory program was really giving students an opportunity to feel welcomed and supported regardless of where they were coming from. And so advisory sections are built on restorative practices and that they present students with an opportunity to be a member of a community. And what's important about that community is that our students feel that they can speak how they're feeling and build relationships that are built on trust, open communication, and a respect for diversity. So it not only connects students that may have similarities, but it also gives them a chance to hear about people who may be experiencing things that are different from them. And so it's that respect for diversity that we feel is a strength of the program. Advisory activities can be structured, as I said, and can look in building skills in some of the areas that are important to social and emotional learning, such as social awareness, self-awareness, and self-management. So our groups for advisory look a little different this year. Obviously, we're masked and doing our best to maintain all of our social safety protocols. But again, the idea behind advisory has not changed and will not change moving forward. We want to provide our students an opportunity to belong to a community. And that's exactly what advisory is providing to them. And we believe that's going to be the greatest benefit to build their social and emotional skills. So that is some of the work that we were doing at the secondary level in terms of social and emotional learning. And I would like to introduce Ms. Carolyn Candela to continue the conversation about our elementary level work.
Thank you, Jen. Good evening to everyone. Let me just move this slide. I don't want to play the slideshow again. Hold on 1 second. Okay, pardon me. So at the elementary level, in order to develop and support social emotional skill acquisition, we continue to implement the Sanford Harmony at the Tier 1 classroom level. Sanford Harmony is an evidence-based curriculum that is aligned with both New York State social emotional standards and national social emotional standards. There are 27 social emotional skills that are encompassed within 5 core competency areas. These 5 areas are self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. So classrooms implement Sanford Harmony during their designated social emotional learning time, which is built into their daily schedules. And they utilize familiar strategies such as morning meetings and circle time, which also brings in that restorative piece and restorative practices. And teachers also infuse Sanford Harmony into their academic content on a daily basis. So this school year, with the addition of a school counselor who supports 3 of the elementary buildings, and myself in the 4 of the other elementary buildings, we're able to provide additional Tier 1 social emotional classroom level supports that supplement our Sanford Harmony curriculum to both our virtual and our in-person learners. So these push-in lessons incorporate such activities like check-ins or icebreakers, teaching a social emotional skill through activities and videos, classroom discussions, reflection activities, exit activities, and opportunities for independent practice to generalize these skills. Pictured here is an example of my social emotional skills classroom, Google Classroom, that the students and the teachers have access to, which we utilize during those push-in lessons. I'd like to share with you some pictures that illustrate various activities that further allow our students to practice social emotional skills at the elementary level. So our top left picture is a picture of PBIS Pride. It's a kindness in chalk campaign to spread messages of kindness during Anti-Bullying Month, which took place in October of 2020. The bottom left picture is an example of another building's kindness campaign project from a 4th grade virtual class. So in this project, this is a 28-week project in which students got to select a background, a Google slide, and every week classmates and teachers write messages of kindness about what they value about their classmates. And then they also make Flipgrid videos to send positive messages to their classmates. So this is a wonderful keepsake that they will have at the end of this school year to reflect upon and remember their classmates by. The center picture is an example of how SEL is being implemented in the classroom based on our Sanford Harmony curriculum. So this particular teacher has Mindful Friday reflections, and the students fill out this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 card in which they share 5 things that made them smile that week, 4 words that describe their week, 3 things that they plan to do over the weekend, 2 things that they learned that week, and 1 goal that they have for the upcoming week. The top right picture is an example of an activity that I've done when pushing into the classrooms to teach those social emotional skills. So this here is a feelings check-in using Jamboard, and the students describe how they're feeling using weather words. We then discuss that just how the weather can change quickly from one moment to another, so can our emotions and our feelings. Also, that sometimes just like the weather is a mix of sun and clouds, that we might have a mix of emotions that we are experiencing at any given moment. And lastly, that bottom picture shows students engaging in activity again during those supplemental push-in lessons, in which I asked them to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down regarding good or bad qualities of a friendship. And this took place during a lesson on pair relationships, inclusion, and conflict resolution. So we know that feedback is always valuable in order to make improvements, so we've asked students what they liked about these push-in supplemental lessons, whether they were in person or virtual. And here are some of their responses, and I'll just share 1 or 2. So for example, the fifth grader shared, "I really liked the lessons. They helped me learn strategies and tips." And another fourth grader has stated, "When I learned empathy, I helped my mother calm down by doing chores." So a little bit about our PBIS Pride program. So again, PBIS stands for Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports. And it is an evidence-based tiered framework to help improve students. We utilize our data, our systems, and our practices to positively affect student outcomes. So each building from K to 12 plans and implements various PBIS activities using PRIDE, which is our acronym here in the district, and at the tier 1 in both classroom level as well. So they teach and encourage students to develop pride, the values of pride in themselves. And here, this picture showcases what the existing pride wall is at the high school. So teachers nominate students for demonstrations of pride. And this pride wall is currently in the process of transitioning to a virtual wall so that we can include all of our hybrid learners so that they can be acknowledged and supported as they acquire and demonstrate pride values. So this picture at the top left is another school's showcase. They have a PBIS Pride kickoff that usually occurs in the beginning of the school year. So they were trying to teach students about what does it mean to show pride and demonstrate pride in all areas of the school, such as when you enter a building, during lunchtime, during the hallways in the cafeteria, and more. So this particular elementary building uses a superhero theme to express and to teach students about pride. And so here you see Batman and Robin. They're in the classroom discussing what does it mean to be respectful, responsible, and patient during whole group lessons. And I'm going to share a video with you as I begin to conclude the presentation. And this video demonstrates how another elementary building combined their social emotional kindness initiative campaign with their PBIS Pride campaign, which is how they came up with K-Pride, and the K is standing for kindness. This video did take place this school year, so it does feature both students at home and also in the building. And they're going to discuss what K-Pride means to them.
K-Pride means being kind. What K-Pride means to me is integrity.
K-Pride means to me to be respectful and responsible.
And when somebody gets hurt, I'm gonna pick them up and fix them. I think K-Pride means standing up for each other.
I think that K-Pride means doing something good even when nobody's watching.
What K-Pride means to me is to be kind, stand up for other people, listen to people when they talk.
So K-Pride to me means like spreading kindness to other people, making them happy, and then spreading more kindness to other people and making their day.
Oops, sorry, I'm trying to get past this slide.
K-Pride means being kind.
Hit it again? Okay, there you go. So that concludes our presentation for this evening. So on behalf of Dr. Lamelza, Ms. Sapienza, Jen Eastman, and myself, we would like to thank the Board of Education members and Dr. Rogers for your time and attention this evening, as well as for your ongoing support and continued dedication to the improvement and the implementation and development of our culture of care model here at Syosset. So thank you all.
Sorry, just wanted to thank you for the presentation. I have, personally seen the benefits of some of these programs and couldn't be more grateful that they exist and that they're offered to those children who need them. I had a question about the slide with the groups, the different kinds of groups that are offered. I think you called some of them counseling groups. I'm not sure if all of them are considered counseling, but for families who may be interested in any of those groups, are the criteria the same for attendance as those who meet the criteria for services?
So our counseling groups are for students that are identified as having a specific need. Students with more significant mental health needs would probably be referred for more individualized support. So groups are a nice way to kind of start when you start to see some red flags with students, and you want to kind of jump in quickly and provide some skill building or support time to see if we can kind of remediate some of those difficulties before they become so significant that they would become more specific counseling.
Thank you. Any other questions about the presentation? Okay.
So I'd just like to compliment the work that this team has done. I don't think the board could have imagined 2 years ago when you gave us the permission to enhance this team with some additional people with additional skills, that we would be experiencing a pandemic where both students and adults in the system alike would find themselves under extraordinary pressure, extraordinary stress, and having this team of people with their extraordinary skill set has really been just an unbelievable asset this year as we've helped our students and our staff navigate through the pressures that we're all experiencing as a result of the pandemic. So that investment that you made has paid dividends in ways that we would never have imagined, and I'm just so grateful that this team has been so thoughtful about how they've approached supporting the staff and the students this year, and they're a large part of why I think we've had a very successful start to the school year. Now that we're hopefully getting close to halfway through that school year, I hope to sustain that momentum. So thank you very much, and I will warn you that this will be your one graceful opportunity to exit the auditorium. Otherwise, you're going to have to sit through my whole presentation. So, thank you again. While my next presentation is being set up, I just want to advise the board of a handful of administrative items. First of all, the state is allowing low and medium risk sports to proceed. So we do have sports that are underway and practicing now, and they'll have 3 abbreviated seasons. We're having a winter season now. It'll be followed by the fall season and then the spring season to conclude the year. So as someone who gets a lot of joy out of watching students do what they love, it's unfortunate that not every student is able to do something, but I'm grateful that some students are able to do something, and that's underway. I want to talk a little bit about testing. Obviously, we tried to provide a testing option for our learning community to try and make sure that we could have people in school as much as possible. We knew there would be difficulties in getting tests in the community. We've tried to scale up our capacity. What we've seen, just like every other test provider has seen, is that especially in the last several weeks, the demand has, it's impossible to keep up with the demand for testing. But we are going to be expanding our testing. Obviously, the board has in front of you this evening the opportunity to create a new testing partnership with another vendor. We're still continuing and very happy, pleased with our partnership with Mount Sinai South Nassau. They've made some additional resources available so that we'll be able to do more tests per hour and have more hours of testing at our site. So we are working very hard at trying to meet the demand because we know that this is a service that the community values, and we also know that the better job and the more rapid job we can do with testing, the safer we can keep the learning environment, and the quicker we can rule out things that aren't worrisome so that students can return quickly to the learning environment, or staff as well. And then in the same vein, actually that's going to be a terrible pun in 1 second. We're looking at vaccinations because today the governor announced that the state is now allowing Tier 1B individuals to start becoming vaccinated with the COVID-19 vaccines. So Tier 1A was mostly healthcare employees. School nurses were eligible, and I know many did take advantage of that, as well as some direct care providers, therapists, et cetera, who work in schools, and they also took advantage under Tier 1A. Now Tier 1B is other educational employees. So we're working with the state to try and get some precise definition for how that's going to work. Some websites came online today with resources where school employees can sign up for vaccinations through the state. But those state sites obviously will experience tremendous demand. The governor has been saying that it may take through April to be able to serve all of the demand and all of the individuals who comprise Tier 1B for vaccination. So we know that every additional person in the school environment who gets vaccinated makes our safe school environment just that much safer. And so obviously there's a huge interest on our part in trying to see if there's anything that we can do to facilitate vaccination for our employees. Obviously, children don't factor into this, at least not yet, because the vaccines are not approved for anyone under 16, but certainly for our employees, members of this Tier 1B, anything that we can do to facilitate that. So we are starting to reach out to multiple different entities that might be able to partner with us. It's not uncommon for us to do vaccinations. You think about the flu vaccine that we made available in the fall to staff, and by doing it on site, it takes almost no time at all for an employee to get vaccinated. This is a work in progress. Undoubtedly, it's going to be bumpy at first. There's no playbook for how to do this, so it's going to be a little bit unpredictable. But we are going to work as diligently as we can to try and make some capacity available so that we can provide that to everyone in our orbit who is eligible. So I just wanted to apprise the board that these were things that we were putting a lot of energy into because obviously their importance. Another item that we've been putting a lot of energy into over the course of the last couple of weeks is making some comments on a project that has been proposed by an entity called Syosset Park, LLC, that is proposing to create a warehouse property on the former Cyril Wire property at 305 Robbins Lane, the corner of Robbins Lane and the LIE Service Road. And they intend to lease that property to Amazon, and Amazon will use it as a last mile warehouse. So large tractor trailers will drop their loads at the warehouse. Those loads will be sorted into smaller van-sized loads and then delivered literally to homes. So this property is near two of our elementary schools, and so any activity on the site certainly is something that we would be interested in commenting on because we want to protect the school environment. So I'll rely on my good friend Farquan to advance the slides here. So the applicant has planned operations of this warehouse site so that I just have some details on here about the size of the property, number of parking spots, et cetera. I won't go into that in detail. Certainly once the property is operational, one can anticipate that there's going to be a lot of traffic on the site. Van operators are going to drive to the site using their personal vehicles, and then the vans themselves are going to leave the site to deliver packages, return to the site eventually, and the van operators will leave in their own personal vehicles. There will be the tractor trailers that arrive, and Amazon uses a program that they call Amazon Flex, which they describe as being something like an Uber, but for package delivery. This would be people who arrive on site, pick up a load, but deliver the packages with their own personal vehicle rather than use an Amazon branded van, and then they don't need to return to the site at the end of the day. They would just leave and come back. So this is the figures and the times of operation that were in the application. So there's, in order to get to this point, obviously there would have to be construction on the site. I'll have a lot to say about that in a moment. And then this is what the site would do when it's up and running. But this is sort of the high-level overview of what's planned for the site. I'm a visual learner, so I like pictures, and this is a picture. To the right is Miller Place, the Long Island Expressway Service Road. This would be the north side of the LIE. The westbound side of the LIE is on the top where the yellow is. On the bottom of this drawing is Robbins Lane, headed If you go left on this drawing, that's going up towards where the school is located. Right on the drawing would go to the bridge underneath the LIE. To the left is the Long Island Railroad tracks that literally run along the border of the property, and above is the town of Oyster Bay property where the animal shelter is, the former landfill site, the town of Oyster Bay operations, and highway department depot. So the yellow shaded areas would be employee parking. These would be personal vehicles. The blue shaded areas would be van parking for vans when they're overnight and not doing deliveries. The red is where the tractor trailers will come in to drop their load. And the white in the middle of the drawing is the warehouse facility itself, about approximately 200,000 square feet, with another 14,000 square feet of that is office space. And the green on either side is the staging area for the vans that would be under covered canopy. Most of the site, as you can obviously see, would be covered in either asphalt or the warehouse itself. And very small portions of it would remain as green space. So this is the site that has been proposed to the town of Oyster Bay. Next slide. So in order to build on this site, the property itself had at one point been a state Superfund site and is now enrolled in something called the State Brownfields Cleanup Program. So the Brownfields Cleanup Program is a program of the Department of Environmental Conservation where properties that still have some sort of residual contamination on them, the goal of the program is to convert them to use. And that means that something has to be done about the residual contamination that's on the site. That whole process is controlled and overseen and ultimately approved by the Department of Environmental Conservation, which is a New York State agency that has authority and responsibility for this. The school district doesn't have any approval authority in this process, but we do have the opportunity to review the plans that are in place and to comment on those plans. And the plan is called an RAWP, a Remedial Action Work Plan, and that's what we've been reviewing. There's also, once the Brownfields cleanup program is planned and that plan is approved, there's also the plan that the town of Oyster Bay would ultimately approve for what's being built on the site. Obviously, the town can control what goes on within its borders. So those two processes are proceeding in parallel, and what we have been doing as a school district is trying to furnish comments on this project because we have the best understanding of how this project will affect the two campuses that are most proximate, and we feel it's our obligation to make sure that these approving authorities understand what the implications are for the school district. Again, we don't have any approval authority of our own, but we do think that it's important that the people that do have approval authority are fully informed about these projects before they make their decision. So again, just back to some imagery. This is a satellite shot. The pink shaded area is the proposed location. To the east of that is the South Grove Elementary School. It's roughly 950 feet away from the border of the property. And to the west of that is the Robbins Lane Elementary School, about 2,200 feet from the subject property. So as I said, our job is to perform our own evaluation, and these documents comprise several thousand pages. Obviously, that's a huge task at hand. We're aided in that responsibility, obviously, by entities that have specific expertise in traffic and, as importantly, or maybe more importantly, specific expertise in environmental issues. Certainly, during construction, because there's residual contamination on the site, construction activities will undoubtedly disturb that residual contamination, and the potential for that residual contamination to migrate is something that we see as potentially threatening, and so therefore something that we would want to comment on and make suggestions for how to mitigate if they choose to move forward. And then certainly during operations, if this project were to move ahead, we can anticipate that the warehouse activities would have noise, potentially some security implications, and most of all, ongoing traffic implications from the personal vehicles that would be arriving for the drivers, the tractor trailers that would be arriving overnight, and of course the vans that will be exiting and returning to the property. So this is the obligatory slide that's illegible to anyone with normal eyes, but we post these presentations online, so this is here just so that the public has a sense of the kinds of documents that are out there that had to be reviewed by the school district. And again, they ran to several thousand pages, and that's for the public's edification. So the school district, since the proposal in 2018 to build a large property, large multi-use development on this property and the adjacent former landfill site, we've retained Walden Associates. They have been combing through all of these documents and advising us. I'll just summarize some of the findings. Our comments to the DEC were filed today. Today was the deadline, and they ran to 102 pages. So this will obviously not be exhaustive, but I wanted to just sort of highlight some of the high-level overview issues. So clearly, as I said, residual contaminants remain on the site, and we do think that some additional testing should be performed to find out the extent of some of the findings on the site that may be hotspots. We think you would want to find the perimeter of those hotspots and maybe do targeted soil removal. The current plan doesn't contemplate that. We're concerned that there's no clear authority over the construction process, so if there needed to be a complaint lodged, it's hard to know where you would lodge that complaint necessarily, or who has authority to stop work until that complaint is resolved. We don't see a schedule of construction activities, so hard to know when this is going to take place, but certainly if there is the potential for migration, we would want that the most impactful activities to happen when the least amount of activity is going on the school campuses. No inspection monitoring program. I wish my eyesight was better. The program doesn't include an independent third party who is overseeing the project and has the authority to stop the work. Obviously, we think that there's a value to having somebody on site who's going to be able to make those kinds of decisions. And we were not able to find in the documents anywhere that there are regulations for the amount of noise that you can have in schools, and those weren't referenced, and no modeling had been done to see how much noise would be created either during construction activities or by the ongoing operations of the facility to see how much it would raise noise levels in the nearby schools. So when Walden went through and reviewed the plans, we found the plans were at best incomplete. So there were a number of plans that were either missing or they were generic in nature. And by generic, I mean that they weren't site-specific. They didn't take into account local wind directions or air modeling or the specific contaminants that are residual contaminants that were on site or the length of time that was going to be considered. There were aspects of the plan that were just missing. So there was no dust control plan, for example. The stormwater prevention plan we felt was inadequate. The primary pathways by which the residual contaminants could be mobilized would either be as dust thrown into the air from construction activities, that would be, it's called fugitive dust, or soils that migrate because they're eroded off the site and carried off the site by stormwater pollution. And not only can they be carried off the site, but then that stormwater can dry, and then what's left as mud eventually dries and then can also become airborne as dust. So with a lot of what we feel are important plans not present in the documents that we reviewed, we believe that the construction would not be adequately protected if those plans were not developed and then incorporated, and obviously we'd want the opportunity to comment on those plans as well. And then importantly, Walden points out that there are other vectors of concern. This is a vacant site. It's been vacant for decades, and so undoubtedly there's a rodent population that has established itself on the site, and construction activities will displace that rodent population. Mr. Ulrich, they may not move to Florida, so they will probably move closer, and we should certainly consider or have a plan for what would be done to address that. On the traffic side, from the construction perspective, the construction plans are very thin in terms of any documentation on how much traffic would be required to do the construction activities. The applicant's preferred remedial activity is to do a site cover system, and they believe that that will take on the order of 10 months to accomplish, but that will involve earth-moving equipment. Some soils might be removed, other soils might be trucked in as part of the site cover. Absolutely unclear to us how much trucking activity that will be, how much heavy machinery activity will be. Very difficult to evaluate the traffic implications of the construction. If the project were approved and then constructed, during the ordinary operations, it does look like the operations are constructed in such a way that they don't impact the peak arrival window that the school district has. Obviously, we run 3.5 waves of busing in the morning, a wave where we go through the neighborhoods and collect high school students and bring them to the high school. Then those buses go back through the neighborhoods, collect middle school students, and bring them to middle school. And then the buses go back through the neighborhoods and collect in 1.5 waves elementary students and deliver them to the elementary schools. Then they cease operation until the afternoon. And the dismissal looks like morning, but just in reverse, where we take all the students and return them to the neighborhoods. So the activities where arrival for van drivers, departure for vans, return for vans, and thus departure for van drivers all appear to fall outside of the primary arrival and dismissal windows for the school district. So there may be traffic implications for the community at large, but the traffic implications for the school district's operations don't necessarily appear to be impacted. That said, there are 3 giant caveats. Giant caveat number 1 is that all of the traffic modeling was done with data that was about 5 years old. Understandably, hard to get good data in a pandemic, but the older data that was trended forward and extrapolated to the current year may not be reflective of what happens as the pandemic hopefully is coming to an end and what happens afterwards. Second big caveat is this is the site owner's representation of how much traffic volume there will be at the site. But there's no guarantees that this is the traffic volume and that it won't scale either because of seasonal demands. That you think of the holidays as having more packages delivered. So there's no guarantee that the site operations I described on the first slide are going to be the site operations in perpetuity. And then the last big caveat is similar to the second, which is although it looks like the windows of operation that they intend to use now, there's no guarantee that those will be the windows of operation as this project moves forward, or if over the course of time they decide that their operations are better served by using different time windows. It is entirely possible that they could start using time windows that would have an impact on school district traffic. And then lastly, there's clearly a school zone right on Robbins Lane. We were watching the streamed video of the town's planning advisory board meeting on January 6th, and the applicant said that about 90% of the traffic out of this site will leave and go to the Long Island Expressway or parts south, but about 10% of the traffic will go north on Robbins Lane to serve communities of Syosset, Jericho, Oyster Bay, presumably other parts north. So that 10% van operations will go through the school zone in front of Robbins Lane, and obviously we want to make sure that any traffic going through the school zone is attentive to the school zone for the obvious safety reasons. So handful of miscellaneous concerns to go through as well. One of the concerns that we saw was that we felt that there could have been much more detail in how, given all of the traffic implications, greenhouse gases would be reduced either through the use of zero or low emission vehicles. The applicant does propose to recycle some of the concrete and asphalt that's on site, but it's not detailed what methods would be used to do that recycling, and so obviously those concrete and aggregates are comprised of different components, and understanding how that recycling would take place is important to understand what sort of dust would be created and what might be in that dust and might migrate with the dust. The applicant's expanded environmental assessment makes the representation that the school district would get additional revenue from this project. That's not accurate. The school district operates under the section of the education law that is commonly known as the tax cap, but that's a tax levy limit. And then Nassau County, of course, has a four-class system, rather. The applicant has applied for tax relief in the form of a pilot payment. That would have to be approved by the Nassau County IDA. If that tax relief is granted by the IDA, it will essentially obviate any new revenue to the school district. And then, next slide, please. So this is not an exhaustive list of the recommendations that we made, but I just wanted to highlight some of them. Obviously, our submissions, links to the submissions are here on the slide in the little green box. When this is posted online, those links will also be live so that anyone wishing to read our more detailed recommendations can do so. But we suggested that the DEC should not approve the remedial action work plan in its current form because of all of the omissions and deficiencies that we identified in the plan as it's currently written. We feel that the plan should be much more attentive to the needs of the school district nearby and represent that they've made considerations for the kinds of impacts that we've identified are possible. We do believe that the DEC needs to be actively involved. We identified the issue that there isn't an obvious, clear controlling authority in this project. We do believe that there needs to be a third party if this moves forward that oversees construction activities and is independent from the site owner so that they have the ability to stop work if there's something that's not right. And we made comments to the town on January 6th, equally extensive comments as the ones that we sent to the DEC today. And we made a number of suggestions that we believe need to be reflected in the site plan application documents, similar to the comments that I made today. And it's our hope that not only would our comments be taken into consideration, but as they made amendments reflective of our comments, that we would have the ability to review those and offer any further comments that we might have once we've had a chance to look at those. So it's unclear to me what exactly the process will be from here. It's obviously these two processes are proceeding in parallel, and that because the parking lots themselves and the warehouse are the site cover system that is anticipated as the Brownfields Cleanup Program remedy, the two are inextricably linked together, and one will not precede the other. They will happen as one, and so our comments to both of these entities in many ways are repetitive because there are two entities that are looking at this from different authority, but our comments in terms of the impact of the school district remain essentially the same. So our comments to the DC went out today. Our comments to the town went out on January 6th. Both of them have been posted to our website, made available. And again, the links will be in this presentation, which will be posted shortly. But you needn't wait for them to be posted to find these links. They're already on our website. If you go to our homepage, there's a button that takes you to a page where we've collected all of our documents thus far on the Amazon project for the public's perusal. So I'm sorry this was long-winded. It has been an extraordinary amount of work. I should probably pause for 2 seconds and just express appreciation to our attorney, Ms. Tondo, who has put an unbelievable amount of time into this over what should have been a break, and also our consultants who have similarly put extraordinary amount of time in very short order to prepare this so that we were able to make our filings timely.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers, and on behalf of the board, we thank you and Carrie Ann Tondo and our consultants for just an enormous amount of work in such a short period of time, thousands of pages, evaluations, and then, of course, to prepare comments that reflect the board's concerns. It was just unbelievably time-consuming, and so thank you very much. Are there board members who have questions for Dr. Rogers based on his superintendent's report? Mr. Ulrich?
Hi, thank you, Dr. Rogers. Ironically, when I came on the board, we were talking about Sassa Park, and 3 years later, we're talking about Sassa Park. I did receive questions this week, and just want to clarify for the public, and please correct me. The board has zero decision-making ability on this. We're an interested party. We can raise concerns, but the decisions are with the town, the DEC, other entities, but the board itself has no approval, veto, or any say in what's happening, but as an interested party with the resources to research this, we're putting in objections on behalf of the public, correct?
I couldn't have said it better myself, except for the very last piece. We're not putting in objections on behalf of the public. We're just putting in objections on behalf of how it will affect the school district's operation. But everything else you said, we have no approval authority. We have no oversight for this. We're not a general purpose government. We don't have anything other than the opportunity to comment.
Thank you. And then people have asked about the environmental issues. Clearly, the concerns exist, but it's really something that, and I'm not the engineer, but it's really all during or largely during the construction phase, where we're disturbing the ground, we're moving earth, etc. Once this project is completed, it's, I don't know the real number, but 99% building and paved asphalt. So once it's done, it's done. But we have to pay particular attention during construction, correct?
The idea of a remedy is that, and this is what the site documents will say, is that it is to prevent any individual from coming into contact with the residual contamination. So the remedy that they've proposed is this site cover system, which, as you correctly point out, is comprised of the parking lots and the building itself, which therefore cover everything that is under that. So if the DEC, the environmental agency that has the authority to approve this, determines that that is a good remedy, or an appropriate remedy, I guess is a better word, then that's the decision that they will make. But certainly from our comments, we see the period of greatest risk to the school district as the point in time when there's no cover, and in fact these soils are being disturbed.
And then I don't know if we have access to the agreements between the parties, between Amazon and Syosset Park, but are we aware of who has liability over the property? If there are issues going forward, who can we hold liable? Are there any provisions in those agreements that would alleviate Amazon of liability, just so we're aware of, on a going forward basis, who the responsible party is?
We were not furnished, to my knowledge, with those agreements, so I don't know if they are public documents or not. I've taken a note. I'll certainly ask our attorney to do some research on that, and I'll get back to the board with the answer to that question.
And then one last wish is, if Amazon's represented additional revenue to the schools and to the district through this project, but as you indicated, the budget is the budget and the county simply apportions amongst different homeowners, different businesses, et cetera, can we seek some sort of concessions from Amazon, some sort of grant or contribution to the district, if they're representing that there is this benefit to the district and it's not actually there, can we look to seek it rather than having representation that there's a benefit coming in that's not actually there?
If that was a direction that the board wanted us to go in, that's something that we could pursue. That hasn't been on offer thus far, but that would be the only vehicle, I guess, to be able to have the applicant have any sort of financial benefit to the school district result from this, because the other mechanisms will not result in any financial benefit to the school district.
All right.
Sorry, Mr. Rotolo.
Thank you, Dr. Rogers. I know this has been a tremendous effort. I'm also a visual learner, and if we just looked at that slide that you showed us, they're basically using 99.9% of that space. Just looking at some of the specs, we're talking about thousands of cars. This is like a small city within Syosset. I'm very concerned, obviously, about it. This is going to be a big change, not just for the school district, but for the town. I know we had done in the past where we accumulated, when we did the surveys, is there any way where we can accumulate our parents of the school district, where we could basically accumulate their views on this, obviously representing the school, and then for the residents, is there anywhere they can go to make their voices heard? Because obviously this is going to be a dramatic change for us.
So what we've done so far is we've confined ourselves to commenting on how this would affect the school district's operations. I would want to get some consultation from our attorney about the idea, if it's the school district's role to survey members of the public. Right, members of the public who happen to be part of our learning community about something that is before a municipal entity. I just don't know the rules on that, and I would want to make sure that we were really clear on where our lane is, and that we did everything in this whole process. We've tried to do everything right by the book. So, but I'm certainly happy to forward that question to her and get the response to the board.
Are there any other questions? Mr. DiFilippo?
Thank you. With regard to the Amazon project, I know you talked about, Dr. Rogers, and I was aware of the Town of Oyster Bay Planning Advisory Meeting, which was a closed meeting, and the school district submitted documents. Did we get any output from that meeting? And also, I believe they're having another meeting later in the month, which I think is also not open to the public. And I know what I'm doing here, and what the board is focused on how it impacts the school district per se. but with the community as a whole, the community is not speaking in any type of public forum on this, on how they feel. Additionally, the role of the New York State Department of Transportation deals with safety. I haven't seen their name mentioned once in any of the documents. And I'm not sure what else the New York State Department of Transportation may impact. Before you answer that, I also wanted to, if we could circle back to that, but with, we talked about, you also talked, Dr. Rogers, about the COVID testing. And I have some personal experience in that area, and I always believe in having a plan B, and that plan B, for people who are listening in the audience, is that the New York State had originally last year started testing at various sites. There happens to be 2 in Long Island, one in Jones Beach and one in Stony Brook. They have significantly ramped up testing on a daily basis, where some are over 1,000 a day. It is a PCR type test. The results are given back in 2 to 4 days. It is free. You don't have to necessarily go to urgent care place or some other place if they're all packed and busy. Their number is 888-364-3065. You could also schedule an appointment online, or you could just go there. The other thing is on the vaccines. New York State is also ramping up on this. And if you've seen from what the governor has been pushing out, is people over 75, and Dr. Rogers, you mentioned teachers and first responders are getting the vaccine, and more people are getting the vaccine. There is another number, and there is on the New York State website to get automatic email updates on the vaccine, which is probably changing daily, and that number is 833-697-4829. And also, like I said, there's a link there to get updates on the vaccines.
Thank you for those reminders about Jones Beach and Stony Brook. We have started putting links to the Jones Beach site in some of our notifications to the community to try and be helpful, but I think it's always helpful to repeat that. On your 3 questions, we did not get any feedback yet on our comments to the town. That was last Wednesday. We did get an acknowledgement that they had received our submission, that they considered our submission timely, and that our submission was shared with the members of the Planning Advisory Board prior to their deliberations that evening. They are keeping the record open until tomorrow, meaning if there are any additional submissions that anyone wants to have become part of the record, they have until tomorrow. And then I believe the next meeting is about a week after that, and we will, of course, observe that meeting to see what develops from it. The second, in terms of public forum, the Brownfields Cleanup Program, I believe, has the ability to do a public hearing, but not necessarily the requirement to do a public hearing, and so that's under the control, obviously, of the DEC. And then for the town's Planning Advisory Board, how they take public comment beyond just getting feedback to, written feedback to them by tomorrow. I don't know if they have plans for any other type of public forum. And then lastly, the DOT, as I said, for the construction phase of the project, the traffic information is very thin. For the ongoing operations part of the project, we did have the consultant review that just because there were thousands of pages, and I can't say declaratively that the DOT was not in there anywhere. What I'd want to do is ask them to go back through it and see if they could find the DOT in there somewhere, and then whatever comments they may have, I'll pull out and share with the board.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Rogers. There is no correspondence and there are no legislative items. Before I go through audience to the public rules, is there anyone in the audience for audience to the public? Okay, thank you. So those who wish to speak, please come to the podium. You will give your name and your address. You must be a resident of the Syosset School District to make a comment. You'll have 4 minutes initially to question the board, and once everyone in the audience has gotten a chance to ask their questions, we will do our very best to respond to them today. If you have any further questions or comments, you can have an additional 4 minutes, after which we will do our very best to answer any questions that you may have asked. We don't speak about students or personnel. We don't poll the board. Well, I think that covers it. So please go ahead.
Know if you can hear me? My name is Alona Cohen from 6 Valley Road, Syosset. And I want to start off by, first of all, really thanking you for all of the work that you've done, because it's the deliberate planning that has been going on, that started a long time ago, and I think really has allowed us to be where we are right now and to give the students and my kids the opportunities that they have. And Dr. Rogers, you had mentioned the sports program. I can't tell you how wonderful that's been to have that as an addition. But I also want to highlight another great opportunity, which has been the after-school music program. That has been just a phenomenal opportunity to have for students to socialize in some sense, but to really be engaged in activities that are so needed right now, especially on days, and this has been one of the terrific things about the sports program, that even on the remote days, to be able to come in and to have contact with other students. I was really excited to hear the presentation today. I thought that basically I loved every portion of it, and the fact that it's really brought to the forefront. I had written a letter to the board sometime at the end of December, and I very much appreciate Mr. Cardillo's outreach regarding that. And I really, I was listening to the presentation actually at home, and I was considering whether to come in or not, and I decided to come in. Because I really think that it highlighted one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about, and that is, especially in this setting, but really always, how to marry that culture of care with academic rigor. And I think that those things are absolutely not mutually exclusive, and I think when done well, and I think that Syosset tends to do things really well, creates the best experience for our students. And, you know, I specifically, transitions are hard. Transitions are hard under any circumstances. They're very hard in the pandemic. And, you know, in some ways, my experience, I have a student in elementary, a student in middle school, and a student in high school who just started high school. And in some ways, strangely, middle school, if you're doing in person, has an even more enhanced culture of care because you're in this small cohort. My daughter refers to it as family, not because she loves every moment or every interaction, but it feels like family with the dysfunction and love and whatever it is that exists there. And it's actually a more caring environment. And I think that I have seen the deliberate integration of that culture of care definitely into the middle school, and it's visible in how it comes out. And I guess for me, the tougher transition is the high school transition. I was very happy to hear about the idea of advisory being brought into the high school, because I do think that having some sort of base and being seen by somebody who's kind of aware of you and thinking about you at that level is very important. And, you know, I don't know what the transition was before the pandemic. I never experienced it because my son has only done it during the pandemic. And I think it's been challenging. It's a very tough thing to have done. I don't know if I should stop.
That's okay. Do you have a minute more? Or?
Yeah, just about a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, so I guess that I just wanted to just highlight one point in the letter that I had written and just bring it up and keep it kind of live, which is the idea of really bridging that academic rigor that is ramped up between middle school and high school, making sure that that bridge does exist before the students come into the high school, but especially this year, where it's very difficult to support the students. It's very hard for the teachers to even know when students need support and need to be referred to additional supports. And the students are learning in a way that they never have. Learning from home, from your bedroom, is just a very different experience. And really just wanted to bring up to the board yet again just the notion of considering the policies and practices, both in terms of things like grading, but also things that not just outside of the classroom, additional supports for students who visibly need something, but to really consider that students all need something and how to bring that into the classroom and make it something that's live for the teachers. And I can tell you there are some teachers that have been phenomenal at it and really like so clear at keeping the high standards, but doing that with a very clear culture of care. And I just wanted to bring that up as a thing to do as universally as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry. Is there anyone else for audience? Yep. Thank you for those kind comments and for the compliment to the team that presented tonight. We'll pass your kind words along to them, and I know that they'll appreciate that. And I think your comments to the board and to me are just a great reminder of we need to do both things well, head and heart. So we want to have the academic rigor, and we also want kids to feel comfortable and safe and ready to explore and to push themselves, but to not have that push create undue stress. To your point, we had put tremendous amount of effort into especially the 8 to 9 transition, which we had created so many new features, an opportunity to meet with 8th grade guidance counselor, different presentations in the middle school auditoriums with high school staff, the K-12 content supervisors in each of the core content areas all had presentations. And we were, instead of letting kids sort of get the first crack at the scheduling, we had the conversation with parents first. And we felt like we had done a lot of really good surgery on that 8 to 9 transition. And then the very next year, when we were, about to iterate it and have it be even better than it was the first year, the pandemic hit us. And so I do think that we're very much going in the right direction with that 8 to 9 transition. The high school has just released an online book that is so well done. It looks very professional, but it also has a lot of really great content about that transition from middle school to high school, from 8th grade to 9th grade. Kids are expected to have a lot more independence in high school than middle school, but we need to be able to support them as they do that. I will also say that I'm excited about the high school advisory. This was another plan that we had intended to roll out sooner, and those plans had been slowed down by the pandemic, but we're unwilling to abandon them. And to your point, never have we needed advisory more than now, but trying to figure out, particularly at the high school, because of the hybrid environment, creating that sense of family that is so much more apparent at the middle schools is that much more difficult with half the population out on any given day, and actually more than half out because 25% of the students or so are learning from home, and then it's half of the remaining 75% who are in the building. And I know that the high school staff has been doing a lot of thinking about how to have these 3 disparate populations, 37%, 37%, 25%, and have them all still feel like one high school. So that's a challenge, no question about it. I know that they're on it, but it's certainly a challenge. And then the last thing that's a challenge that you mentioned is grading. And I meet, as you might imagine, with colleague superintendents from across Nassau County, but also across the state. And there are lots of interesting ideas out there, but I can't point to a single colleague who will say, we've got this all figured out how to do it in a pandemic. There are good ideas out there, and we're all kind of stealing shamelessly from one another. But this is something we'll be better at next year, but I don't want to be in a pandemic next year. So we're going to do our very best this year and get through it. But, you know, I think all of your points right on target, all stuff that we're absolutely working on.
I just wanted to thank you for your feedback. It's really always great for the board to hear what work is being done, what's resonating with the parents, and what isn't resonating with the parents. So thank you for that. And I'll personally be experiencing that 8th to 9th transition now, and I did it once before, so I'll be able to see firsthand what the differences are in the transition. So hopefully I and you and everyone else experiencing this will have a positive experience. Do you have, since you're the only one here, do you have any other comments before we close audience to the public? Okay, great. Thank you very much. That closes audience. Okay, the following are new business items. A1 is the approval of staff changes for certified staff. Is there a motion? Ms. Falco, seconded by Mr. Ulrich. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? A2 is the approval of stipends and hourly rate activities. May I have a motion, please? Ms. Levitan, seconded by Mr. Feldman. Are there any questions? Mr. Rotolo.
I saw that kick line was deleted. Was that just a miscategorization, or do we not have?
No, the state's not going to permit kick line. I've talked with Mr. Cronin about this, and this is his recommendation for how we should proceed.
Any other questions? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? B1 is the approval of recommendations from the Committee of Special Education. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Ulrich, seconded by Mr. DiFilippo. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? B2 is the approval of recommendations from the Committee on Preschool Special Education. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Feldman, seconded by Mr. Gershon. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? B3 is the acceptance of audit reports. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Rotolo, seconded by Mr. Ulrich. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? B4 is the acceptance of undue burden independent evaluator hardship waiver. May I have a motion, please? Ms. Cheng, seconded by Mr. Ulrich. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? C1 is the authorization for service contracts. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Gershon, seconded by Mr. Ulrich. I have a question. So a couple of the service contracts that are included are for the live streaming of athletic events, given the fact that parents will not be allowed for these seasons to attend in person. So will the varsity media companies be live streaming all of our school sports or a select group?
They'll be doing a select group, and there are two media companies on here because there is a tremendous, as you might imagine, since no school district will be having spectators in person, there's tremendous demand on streaming services right now, so we wanted to try and make relationships with more than one provider so that if one is unavailable because they're covering somewhere else, we have a second provider to go to. That said, I'm missing one sport off the top of my head, and now I'm regretting it. Gymnastics will be covered, fencing will be covered, and I said gymnastics, fencing, and swimming. Thank you. Those will be streamed. because the facilities lend themselves to it. Bowling will not, because as you picture, there might be 10 or 11 lanes in use, and so there's no really good way to stream that. And we don't have any home track meets, but we're imagining that wherever the track meet is being held may stream it. So if that happens, it'll be at the place where it's being streamed. But yes, for the 3 sports that are here at Syosset, we'll stream all of those. I'm sorry? Not this season.
Yes, Andy.
This isn't related to the streaming, but quick question about what is the latest on the close contact sports for the winter, Dr. Rogers?
Yeah, so right now the state is only approving low and medium risk sports, and so the high risk sports, like in this winter season, think of wrestling primarily, the state has not permitted those sports to move forward. What we're doing is our coaches, as I mentioned last month, are working with those athletes, trying to keep them in top shape, and obviously we're hoping for a future opportunity for them, but right now it's not permitted by the state.
So do we envision for the second and third seasons that we will have additional service contracts and resolutions?
It's my hope that these contracts will work for the next 2 seasons. So I can't answer with specificity the question about which sports would be streamed, but our goal is to stream as many sports as we possibly can.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for C1? Opposed? Any abstentions? C2 is the authorization for special education and/or nursing contracts. May I have a motion, please? Mr. Rotolo, seconded by Ms. Falcove. Are there any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? C3 is the authorization for adjustments to budgetary reserves. May I have a motion, please? Ms. Falcove, seconded by Mr. Ulrich. Are there any questions? Mr. Rotolo.
Dr. Rogers, can you please just explain this again, the mechanics of it, how it works, please?
Happy to. So the school district approves, you as a board approve a budget in March. That budget is put before the voters in May. That budget every year includes a transfer from reserves into the budget, and then at the end of the year, with unspent funds, we replenish those reserves, and that's pretty much the cycle that we go through every single year. So the amounts here are the exact amounts that were approved in the budget. So it's kind of a 2-step process. The public approves that budget. Then as we get halfway through the year, we do this resolution that actually enacts this part of the budget.
Are there any other questions? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Any abstentions? All right. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Okay, Chris Ulrich, best of luck.